Dave Maik, talking to tech people that help managed service providers, MSPs. Dave's a very interesting man. He's out of Montreal. He caddies, golf caddies for his daughter, who's in her 20s. And I love the conversation of caddying. It's not coaching, and you're getting distances and giving suggestions and taking account the wind and the slope and the angle and so it's very kind of, you can run a parallel with that and working with managed service providers. How are you guiding them? Dave doesn't have an MSP background. He worked in hardware, then in software. He's been in the MSP community for a couple of years now with the ConnectWise PitchIT program. This product is Defense X, a security solution. But it's a very interesting conversation with Dave and his experience. We delve deep into the learning curves of working with a managed service provider, how they own the client relationship, how different that is from working with enterprise and other areas. I do open the conversation again with golf. He's a hockey player and how the relationship between hockey and golf and what's there. But great conversation with Dave Maik. Thanks for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business that lasted over 25 years? Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission, how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family and their passion and their careers and how it helped them. Our podcast vision, growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. So I will be having conversations with a lot of the coaches and the finalists from 2023 and, just kind of talking about them a little bit and their solution in some future podcasts. We want to make kind of an introduction to that as well.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, like I said, as the years progress, more people are getting involved. And then back to these vendors looking for a way to create a name for themselves with consistency. They need people like you, which is why I'm so thrilled that you're willing to work with me and work with us on this. So you're going to be you've graciously accepted to host these, and I appreciate that. Where you'll interview all our contestants. You're also going to interview last year's head coaches, last year's judges, last year's finalists. So you're doing all that. And I think it's important, for if you're a vendor and you're watching these, take note of this and how you get more involved. Watch the program. Watch what these men and women are all doing with us, because they're doing a lot. That's how you grow your business. If you're an MSP, watch these things. Get to know who people are and then inquire, because you're all looking to have stack alignment and you're all looking for credible and reputable businesses. We're vetting them out for you. We're putting them on display for you. Watch them, ask questions, find out, do your due diligence. Don't wait until IT Nation Connect to see you like at a booth and then buy 5 or 6 different technologies that you don't need.
So 2024 PitchIT, ConnectWise PitchIT. What's new and exciting about it?
Oh my Lord. So for those that have not followed any of this, I took over the PitchIT program 2 years ago, and we've had such great success, with like really great success. It's become one of the most predominant programs in the space now. Matter of fact, I was doing some research the other day, and about 5 or 6 other pitching things have spun off from mine and from ConnectWise PitchIT with other people that are running it. So it's great to see, because I think it's the thing about PitchIT is it's all about innovation. It's all about being daring and willing to do things, right? I mean, as an entrepreneur, it's a scary situation. You have to be ignorantly optimistic, and you have to be willing to maybe fail a lot more than you'll succeed, and you have to have very thick skin. But you
Mm.
always have to be innovative and creative. So it's nice to see that this has spun off into other groups that have started doing it, because I think the hardest challenge for most startup vendors is getting their name out there, right? Getting people to know that they exist. And the reality of it is you can't just be there one time. You have to show consistency. You have to be in there for the long haul,
Mm.
for the partners to really be able for you to establish credibility, right? Because there's been plenty of fly-by-night businesses that have came out big and gone in 6 months. And for partners, their whole business is built around these vendors, these products. So they're making lifelong business decisions off of these.
Mm.
So it's great, it's exciting, but back to the program itself, it's jumped leaps and bounds. It went from being just a competition where they picked a few people, a few really good product companies to pitch at live at IT Nation Connect, to where we turn into an accelerated incubator program it's a season. It's literally a competitive season now at this point.
Mm.
And went from 5 or 7 or maybe even 10 vendors that are involved until they narrowed down to 3, to 2 years ago was 18, last year was 26.
Wow.
And we had way more applications than that. That was just the ones that we thought were the best fit.
Hmm.
So yeah, we're getting ready to put out the press release in a couple of days, because then the application process will start February 1st. So I recommend anybody from around the entire globe to apply. We've had over just last year alone 6 different countries represented, between the U.S., Canada, to Israel, to Australia, to New Zealand, to the UK. They all involved in this competition.
Hey, very cool. Dave Maik, thanks for your time. I'm very excited to talk to you. Is it true that, generally speaking, most hockey players become golfers?
I think that is a transition of age, yes. So, in fact, I actually still play golf, hockey and golf. So, yeah, those are my winter summer sports.
Just because the transition of the body weight and the stick and the club, it's so similar.
It is very similar, yeah, absolutely. If you obviously follow NHL, you see a lot of NHL players actually are very good golfers.
And baseball players as well. They're both swinging something. Yeah.
Swinging, yeah, exactly. It's a weight transfer, hip rotation type thing. So yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah, because when you don't play those sports, you just kind of use your arms. You kind of cast a bit when you play golf, but yeah, the
Yeah.
the hockey players that I play with can hit the ball a mile, Dave.
Yeah, yeah. I wish I was not quite that good, but I wish I could hit the ball a mile. It'd be nice.
Are you a Canadiens fan?
I am a Habs fan. Yes, I am. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're out of Montreal, and I mean, are you a season ticket holder? How involved is hockey Canadians with your life?
Well, I grew up being a hockey player, so that definitely helps. In fact, I grew up in Toronto for 28 years of my life,
Ah,
and was never a Leaf fan. So my dad could never figure out how I could live in Toronto and not be a Leaf
I
fan.
know, I know.
But yeah, and to be honest with you, I do not go to any games. It is far too expensive in
Yeah,
Canada to go to hockey games. The prices are outrageous. So when I
really.
travel, that's when I go to hockey games because they're
Seriously.
cheap in the States.
Yeah, I'm in Tampa here. We have the Lightning, and you could usually get tickets pretty reasonably.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been to a few like Vegas games, Chicago, the
Mm.
typical cities that we travel to for these events.
So your background is in software as a service, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, when I started in this industry, it was all hardware based. There was no software really, other than
Mm.
maybe Microsoft. But yeah, everything was really a hardware based environment. Networking gear, and really at the time, what was hot was clone computers, if you can believe that. So
Yes.
guys were buying up components to build computers and then
Yes.
resell. And guys like Apple and Dell really didn't have a strong hold on that market at all. And those clone guys were pumping out product really quickly. And as we know back then, I won't tell the year, but a long time ago, that technology changed every 3 to 6 months. I mean, you bought a computer and 3 months later you had something that was actually pretty old.
Yeah, I was part of that wave. Although I never created the white box, I had partners that did, and I would buy and resell them as an MSP. But then it just got to a point, Dave, where just Dell just wiped that business away, right? Because you can do everything on their website, and you can get stuff in a couple
Yeah.
of days, and it's just wiped that out.
Yeah, they got really smart in that market was, yeah, you're right, creating the ability just to build your own thing on online and literally it would just get delivered to you in a few days. And yeah, that corporate went that route quite quickly. That really squashed a lot of the clone builders out there back in the day.
Mm.
And then obviously Apple made a huge push later on, and now they've cornered a big percentage of that market as well. So yeah, things definitely evolved over time.
Hmm. So why work with MSPs now, managed service providers?
Well, the product I'm involved with at DefenseX, we're a cloud-based product. So really the market is to go through MSPs, to work with those MSPs and make them understand where we sit and what type of what protection we now provide to the market. And again, it comes down to what we just talked about, how fast things change in the market, right? This
Mm.
cybersecurity world, networking world, just complete computer world has evolved all the time. And obviously in the security world, these things are evolving by the minute. Any way to get by any type of technology, they will find a way, and they're going to find the easiest path with the least resistant, and they will find their way through. So MSPs provide a great value. They have a lot of clients under their wing, and they are the educator to those end users to provide that kind of, I want to call it the silver bullet. I like to call it the multiple silver bullets that
Mm.
creates the one silver bullet. So they have a challenge on their hand, right, to make sure that their customers are protected properly. And it is a cloudy world for them because there is so much technology out there. So it's quite interesting and actually entertaining, if you will, to work with them and help them really create the best possible stack.
Hmm. So, I mean, as a security provider, Dave, you could go many routes. You can go direct. You don't have to go through managed service providers. And,
Yep.
it's got its challenges, but it's also got great upside as well. Why? So, is it your first exposure to them with DefenseX?
To an MSP, you mean? My first exposure
Yes.
to an MSP?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, I've been on many levels of the business, and everything from working for an actual VAR, which is a little bit of a dated name, I guess. They still
Mm.
exist out there, but it's a
Hmm.
little bit of a dated name. To other forms of distribution. Back in the day when it was all networking gear, and how do you balance your pipe essentially into your company so that you can do all the things that were required, like video conferencing, which was a hog on the bandwidth.
Mm.
So yeah, definitely my first go around with MSPs, and we see them as the VAR today. Really, it's the VAR for the cloud, right? They're out there
Hmm.
creating a secure stack for their clients, and they are the ones with all the relationships to the end users. And
Yes.
we like. So go ahead.
Yeah, I love this point. Keep going. Yes.
Yeah, so they're the ones with the relationships out there to the end users, and they're the ones that are going to educate those end users as along with us.
Hmm.
We really want to partner with those MSPs and work with them to help them be successful, right? I mean, they're always looking, what's the next revenue driver? How do they increase their revenue every month, every year, and how do they do it with the right products? And that's probably the bigger question is what's the right product for them? So it is an educational thing, excuse me, of working with them and obviously showing them how our product fits into the grand scheme of this security world. And then they need to educate their customers, and we're really willing to do that with them. We really want to partner and drive that information down to them, and so they're educated so they can make the right decisions and be protected properly.
So was that the largest obstacle to overcome, Dave? Is that the MSP owns the relationship with the client and not you?
For sure. We were the product is obviously new to the industry. We do have the DNS piece to our product, which everybody knows and kind of lives that world pretty much today. But everything else we do is new. So when the product was really officially kind of launched, if you will, and we went to market with it, that was a big piece of it. Was not first of all educating the MSP, making them visible to the product. They all said, what a great product. Not sure how this fits in the stack. So it
Hmm.
takes that time to understand that the attacks coming from the web browser level was still fairly new at the time. Although the percentage was extremely high at around 80%, they still weren't sure, how do we put that in play? And how do I sell that and tell that to my customer to make sure that they understand that this isn't a required, if you will, product, or you should be looking at it or you could get in trouble. So, yeah, there's always been that education, but we've been driving that down to them and working with their end users as well by doing things like webinars with their companies. Like they organize webinars, we get on, we do the educational piece for them.
Very
Helps their
cool.
sales cycle.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And how did you get introduced to the MSP community?
So we do use distribution. Pax8 is our main partner today. Obviously, I think everybody knows who they are now. They are pretty much a monster in the cloud world. So we've been working with them and utilizing their sales team and their database of MSPs to actually get our name out there as one side or one angle, I guess, if you will, to getting the product out and educating the MSPs. We're also doing a ton of events. That's the other side of it, is to go to events and to show them what we have, if you know, or not really doing demos, but explaining it to them, and then getting back and doing demos for them so they can really get a grip on what we're doing.
Interesting, Dave. So you became a partner with Pax8, the distributor, and then they convinced you to go into the MSP market?
No, they're focused on the MSP market. They
Yeah.
don't do any end user sales, so their client is that MSP or MSSP, if you will. So we were utilizing their salespeople to go to market to their MSP partners, which they call their partners. So yeah, that's been our. We didn't obviously have the manpower to be doing that on our own, so we were utilizing their 300-400 salespeople to do so worldwide.
Hmm. And now you've been working with them with MSPs, and you enjoy the relationship. I mean, what's the biggest challenge when working with an MSP in your product?
I don't know if they're challenges because we are a new technology. For us, it's more the education piece, I guess, would be the hurdle to get over.
Mm,
I
mm.
don't really want to call it a challenge because it's just a matter of them understanding where we fit in the stack and where we kind of layer on top of other technologies that are out there already, some very well established technologies. So that's really it. I to be honest with you, and not to kind of boast the product too much, and obviously I'm a little bit biased, but every time we do a demo for a client, even from day one, it's always been a very positive reaction to our product. Before, when we first went to market, it was always that, this is great, but now what? Now what's my
Mm.
next step? How do I go to market? How do I convince my clients that they need this? How do I add it? And we're not an expensive add-on either, which is extremely nice and makes it easier for them to digest. Now today, it's like almost we understand this attack level now. They've educated themselves, not necessarily through what we're doing, but going to events and watching, live streams or blogs or whatever the case may be, and finding out that, oh my God, there is this level of attack coming there. What's out there to help me, to help my clients?
Hmm.
So it's kind of just coming in on two angles, if you will.
But Dave, coming from the hardware then to the software as a type of VAR that you were, where you're selling to probably mid-level enterprise, I wouldn't think it was small to medium business. I
No.
mean, it's got to be a big shift to have this product and go to managed service providers that are serving that SMB market for you.
Well, definitely it's different conversation because
Mm,
when you're dealing with the end user, an enterprise client, obviously, and you have a line card of product, you're trying to find out, what is it that you're missing? What is it that you need? Where can we fit in? Maybe what can you replace? What are you not happy with? Where's your pain points? The typical sales questions. And that's a hardware piece. Now, hardware is one-time sale, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
buy it, you're done, you put it in. Okay, now what, right? With the software side of things, it is a reoccurring revenue strategy here, where it's a monthly licensing um, billing process. So it definitely changes how you fit in, and honestly, just MSPs. When you're dealing with enterprise, you have a technical group there, and they may not always be so technical, whereas MSPs are very focused on what they're
Mm,
doing.
mm.
So I find it's maybe an easier conversation to have, and they're definitely willing to learn, and they're definitely willing to find out what other new products are out there. And that's what brings us to events, is going to events and being there. Is these guys are, yeah, the Sentinel ones are there, the CrowdStrikes are there, the Microsofts are there, and that's great. And you might go and say, hey, I'm using your product, shake their hands. But what they're really looking for is, where can I fill the gaps? And that's the difference between MSP. They're out there really engaging and trying to find new technology, whereas an enterprise may be just sitting back going, I think I got everything, I don't know, I'm just going to manage what I have until someone comes telling me something different.
Yeah, by committee or yeah. So I mean, MSPs are in the trenches, Dave. Right? They're there. They're
Yeah.
the one. The clients. Their SMB clients want one throat to choke. Everything IT related is going to my managed service provider. So they're there. They're there. In the trenches. When I talk to them, I'm a former MSP, sold, and now I work with a lot of MSPs. But generally, three things keep them up at night at least the last couple of years. And number one being security, right? They're afraid their clients are going to download something and they're going to get, ransomware, etc. Two is human capital. They're afraid if technicians leave, how they're going to replace them, how they're going to get more. And then lastly is just growth, right? Because private equity has infused so much money and almost, I don't want to say legitimized, but just put our industry up on a very different kind of level. So they're concerned about growth. I wonder how Defense X addresses through those three problems.
Well, definitely we provide a product that layers on top of already existing infrastructure that they have there. So already security products. So I used the word Sentinel and CrowdStrike earlier. So this is the EDR, XDR type product. So I kind of explain that as, Defense X is the mouse traps on the exterior of the house, and they are the mouse traps on the interior of their house.
Huh.
So we do one level of protection, and they catch the next other levels of protection. So I always like to use the analogy of drawing some circles. And if you can draw circles and find technologies that slightly overlap, because I think everybody in the industry will overlap a little bit here and there. But if you're drawing and you're looking at your stack, you're drawing circles. And if they slightly overlap, that's a perfect fit to your stack. So Sentinel One, a CrowdStrike, and then Defense X, yes, there is a very slight overlap there, but it's a seamless product line to be able to protect right down the line, so that we're closing off any unlocked doors essentially.
So that's the security. So it's an additional layer on security. I mean, as far as
Yeah.
human capital and growth, I guess getting an extra layer of security would mean you don't have to worry about extra
Well,
humans taking care of it.
yeah, so this is kind of a set and go type of product. So once the policies are set up and it can be a very big variation of policies depending on the client. But once you've gotten to that point and you've set up those policies for a client, you're done. There's nothing more to do to the product. Now, there would be some tweaking here and there if the client comes to you and says, hey, we've got this new group of people or this new person, and I need different policy cases for this person. Can we do something different here? Yes, of course, there's always going to be tweaking, but it's really set and go type of product once you've established what you need to do.
Hmm.
On the other side of people, you really, once you're set and again, our product is very black and white when you look at it. The back end is very clean. It's very easy to understand. Ton of features. That's the uplift, is understanding how to use those features. But once you're there, that's it. I mean, you got it, and once it's installed, it's kind of let it play, and it's going to do what it needs to do.
You know, when I talk to, again, more MSPs in that third area, which is growth, I hear them say the
Mm,
term that I've never heard before until the last couple of years is tool consolidation. They're concerned about,
mm.
bottom line, and I have this ongoing theory that most MSPs are overtooled. They buy too many tools. They don't use them properly. They just sit on the shelf. Thoughts about that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
One thing about our product is we'll get back. I just want to step back to talking about kind of that revenue and growth thing. Is we have a path for further growth for the MSP to use through our product line, so they don't have to switch or look for another type of product to fill
Mm.
another gap. The other side of it is we mix and match. So we have 4 SKUs. They're all mix and matchable inside of an organization. So very rare that a vendor will provide a path that they don't have to move all endpoints or all licenses up to another level because a small portion of their company needs a different level of protection.
Hmm.
You can actually create individuals or groups of individuals and move them up to another layer of protection. So that's an easy discussion to have with an end user when they're saying, hey, I've got these 5 execs that need a little more freedom on the web, but I want them protected. How do I do that? Oh, that's no problem. We can move 5 of them up. Here's the price, extra price. They're not like, I only get charged for the 5. Oh, this is great. It's an easy discussion. So it's an easy move for those individuals to go to that and give the go ahead with our product anyways. And there are others out there like that, but very few. Sorry, what was I'd step back. What was your original question? Sorry.
Most MSPs are overtooled.
Oh, overtooled. Yes. So that is great because I'm a part of CompTIA SaaS board. We are building out a 4-step process that helps the MSP, essentially a checklist with it gets a little bit more deeper into the third and fourth stage, but it's a checklist to understand how to choose a vendor properly. And that will
Hmm.
eliminate the over tooling or the overlapping. It goes back to my circles. If you start drawing circles of what all the tools that you have in your stack do, and you find that you got tools that are basically half or 3/4 doing the same thing, you need to rethink what you have in your stack and then being able to eliminate that, which will ultimately eliminate the bottom line dollars that their cost of doing business, and then the bottom line dollars to their clients. Which 2 things could happen. Obviously, you're better set up. You've dropped your bottom line costs. You might be able to find more clients because maybe your overall bundle cost can come down as well and be more competitive in the market.
Hmm. How should MSPs choose a vendor?
Well, out of the gate, there's a ton of different little checklist things you need to consider. One of the big things is definitely contracts. Always a red flag is what is the contract? What
Hmm.
does it read? How long is that contract? Or is there a contract period? We don't have any contracts, so we kind of null and void that question. But a lot of other vendors out there have contracts, so you've got to be very careful what you're getting into because in this world, we know people flip and flop different technologies all the time. They think they bought something that they like, they get it in, they use it for a year, and they're realizing maybe the support's not good, maybe it's not exactly what they thought it could do, and then they're like, oh, I need to get out, I want to move to another product. They look at their contract, they have 2 more years. How do I get out? I can't. Right. So that does that reflect back on the client? Does that reflect back on the client saying, hey, if I don't want this product anymore, I don't like how it interacts with my employees, so therefore remove it. But now they signed a 3-year contract. So that's a real tying point. The other one is, or the other couple quick ones are, time. How much time is going to be required to POC the product or trial the product and figure out if it's going to fit? Costing obviously is huge. What is the price, right? Am I going to be able to fit this into my stack? Am I going to be able to sell this product with my current stack? And of course, you're going to need to increase your overall price. Will my clients accept that price? So that's another big one. And then just there's a lot of other underlying other questions like what's the support like? Who do you go for support? Where do you buy? There's a pretty in-depth checklist that we've created. Then, like I said, as you go down the line, we start to get into more detail once you've gone by that first stage.
Yeah, Dave, because you mentioned earlier kind of your model, it's kind of it's consumption based. I was speaking to somebody the other day when they were at Webroot, and when Webroot
Hmm.
introduced consumption based AVP back in the 2000s, massive amounts of us MSPs went to that, because before that we had to buy thousands of licenses, and if we didn't sell them, we still had to pay for them. I mean, so that model is just assumed today. So the,
Hmm.
I'm assuming that's on the checklist as well, and it's obviously what you do.
Right. Yes, it is what we do. So we don't have any mins. We don't have any contract buy-ins. We're dealing with endpoints, and endpoints can change. So you can't really have a contract if endpoints are going to change either up or down. And buying this bulk number of licenses and then trying to consume those licenses, that's where a lot of MSPs will get in trouble.
Mm.
Is they'll go, oh, I can get to 1,000 because I want that price break, and then they can only get to 750 licenses consumed. Now what? Oh, I'm paying for 250 licenses that I'm not receiving any money back on it. So how does that go to the bottom line? I need to now, push that into my bottom line, and that could make or break, profitability maybe, or obviously eat into the profit. So yeah, that's we don't get into that. We just feel it's a much easier way for an MSP to work, and they need to be flexible at that level of what we're doing as well.
Hmm. So, Dave, you're with the ConnectWise PitchIT program. It's an incubator program,
Yes.
25 vendors. I believe it's your second year. How do you like it there, and what's your goal?
It's awesome. It really is. I, I, for any smaller vendor, it's like you need to do this. You really
Mm,
do.
mm.
Forget about winning. Forget about top three. Put that aside. The goal is the relationships you're getting out of it. I've met last year, right? It is my second year. Last year, I met some really, really incredible other vendors out there, which I still work with today. We still get together today when we're on the road.
Awesome.
We trade information, discussions, and in fact, one of the winners from 3 years ago, I kind of teamed up with and did some co-marketing.
Nice.
I thought it was a great idea to grab the winner from a year ago and then market with them last year.
Smart thread.
And they have been super amazing people, a great group of great team there. And in fact, we just came back from ChannelCon, and they flipped me an opportunity because they actually talked about DefenseX in a meeting that they were in.
Wow.
And so these are things that you can't see from the PitchIT program. There's a lot of learning. There's tons of great learning that you get out of it. We just also did a group party with the PitchIT group at ChannelCon. We had, I don't know, somewhere between 80 and 100 people in a suite that we rented. Got a lot of mind share, I think, and just a lot of visibility. That's the big thing. This thing costs nothing other than your time and maybe doing some other promos along the way, but it's free. It's free publicity for, especially startups who don't always have a ton of money to do things. It's awesome. It really is. And again, this year I met some great people and great technology out there. This year's interesting because there is some super cool technology in PitchIT Group.
Yeah, there really is, and I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm so glad I was invited, and the big I don't know, the culmination of it is in November at the big
Yeah.
IT Nation, and it's going to be exciting, Dave. What comes around with it? And so I started my MSP back in the '90s, Dave, and I was working too hard, 14-hour days. I'm sure you're no stranger to this, and not paying
Yeah.
attention, not getting out and playing any golf or soccer or anything. And next thing I know, I found myself at 340 pounds. And the doctor said to me, if
Right.
I
I
don't
saw that.
yeah. Doctor said if I don't lose the weight, I'm not gonna see my daughter graduate. She was just born, and I can't believe I did this to myself. I'm punching the steering wheels. I'm driving home. I'm the one to blame. It's my pie hole, Dave. I'm the one who did this. So I spent the next 6, 7 months. Changed everything I did, and I lost about 130 pounds and kept it off. Can't kind of look at it as a finish line. You have to keep going with it. And people always ask me how, like, there's some quick, just like security. Just give me the silver bullet. Just give me there's nothing like that, right? You've got to really plan what your
Right.
tools are going to be. So my quick answer when they ask me, it's just discipline, right? I got routine, I got willpower, I got restraint, and that's how I lost the weight and do some of the things that I do successfully. I wonder how discipline plays a role in your life, Dave Maik.
Wow. Yeah. Always has to be. There's, when you, especially in a startup role, there's highs and lows, right? This is probably the biggest challenge of trying to get off the ground with a company that, really nobody knows you. And you're kind of lonely at the bottom, and you're trying to get to the top or close to the top as you can. So, it's the positiveness that you need to bring to the table every day. It's just being able to be focused and get up every day. And if you had, I know this is maybe cliche, if you had a bad day the day before, tomorrow can be better. But that just kind of goes around everything we do in life, and
Mm.
that's in the work world. That's what it is. I mean, not every day is going to be roses, right? So there's always challenges. There's always hills to climb, always hurdles to get over.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's about staying positive. And, as an individual, I think I'm a very positive person, like to have fun, like to get together with people, and very, very social that way. And yeah, that's what keeps me motivated. And definitely sports. Sports is my, I need to get out and do that. That's my release of everything else that accumulates in the matter of a week when you're working. So
Yeah,
absolutely got to do
get,
that.
getting outside and swearing and sweating and spitting, it's just turning the phone off, right? For me, it's just necessary. It's required. Um, I have to do it to be able to function and just get a good workout in. Have you always considered
Yeah.
yourself a disciplined person? How do you and your family view it?
Um, Discipline is a very strong word
Mm,
because I think everybody has their weaknesses in life, and you do have your highs and lows. I think all the time. Um, it's about keeping it on the rails. That's the way I kind of look at it,
mm,
right? I mean, you can have some bad stretches, and maybe you feel like I'm lacking, and I'm not keeping up the pace, and then it's just about pulling yourself up and getting back on track, right? And that can go for anything, right? Work, or it could be playing golf, as we discussed earlier. Is
mm.
you have your highs and lows in golf, and some days you want to just kind of throw your clubs in a lake and say, that's it, I'm done. But you work hard, and if you want to get good at something, you'll dedicate yourself. And I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm always, when I get my hands on something, I'm very passionate. And that's what motivates me too, is success, I guess, or not failing. That's maybe the
Mm.
big fear, right? Is failure. And yeah, that motivates me a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm mentioning discipline, but you're going to motivation. Is motivation a big part of your
Mm,
discipline? It's interesting, the connection.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I think it goes along with everything in family life too. It's
Yeah,
we talked about golf again, and my daughter actually plays university golf, and
nice.
it plays in a little bit of a kind of a little tour up here in Canada, and we
Hmm,
go on the road in the summer, and I caddy for her. And
awesome.
it's interesting to take my many years of sports experience and playing pretty high level hockey, and trying to teach a 21-year-old how not to get frustrated and pack it in the middle of a round and just give up. So
Mm,
yeah, motivation is a big thing. What's your goal? You set a goal every time. What's your goal? What do you want to get to? If you don't get to that, what's the goal next time? And next time it's not going to happen. And yeah, motivation, 100%. As maybe, I won't say as bad as things could get, or how maybe things aren't going your way. It's motivating about changing that direction, right? And motivating about changing the outcome. And you are in control of that outcome, right? Ultimately.
hmm. So when you're caddying for your daughter, are you coaching or are you just caddying? Are you a psychologist? What are
Uh,
you?
yeah, I'm more that I definitely, my days of helping her with her swing are over.
Right,
I did what I could when she was younger. Now she has school coaches,
of
and
course.
she has a coach at the club she's at. So I'm there more for that, to make it relaxed environment.
Mm.
golf is obviously a very mental game. So when
Sure
you're
is.
out there for 4.5 hours walking and got a lot of time to think, it's about keeping it light, making sure she stays positive. Um, yeah, and just being more the mentor and a little bit of a psychologist there, obviously.
So are you giving her distances and seeing where the wind direction is and suggesting clubs, and are you doing that as well?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. So I've been playing golf for a long time. Not that I'm a tour player, that's for sure, but I have enough experience in all those kind of facets of the game to understand. I have played low level competitive golf
Mhm.
through interclubs at my clubs, so I know what competition is about. So
Nice.
it's a yeah, definitely we're out there. It's she talks to me and I don't know all their clubs, but she says to me, yeah, I think I'll be better off doing this. I'm more comfortable with this club, and then I give her the okay and say, okay, you do what's going to be comfortable, make the good shot, stay in the swing, and be committed to it.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a lot of if anybody watches golf out there and you hear how these caddies talk to each other, to the player, it's exactly the same, even though we're at a very minor league level.
Yeah, many people think that, caddying's coaching, but it's not. It's just,
No,
getting distances. So can you use a radar, or do you actually have to walk out the distances?
no, we can use the lasers for sure. And she uses a laser. I have a watch, so we go back and forth with distances to make sure we got the right numbers. It's places to lay up to and things like that. We're talking about when we're on par fives that are not reachable, this type of thing.
Yeah, trying to be smart and keeping it on the fairway. Yeah, everybody, especially
Correct.
a lot of men try to get on in two, and it's not worth the risk. You may go in the water, you may go in the hazard. It's just not the risk. Not
Exactly.
worth the
Yep.
risk. How about putts? You reading the greens for her?
Yeah, doing all the green reading, and she I always tell her that if you don't believe what I'm seeing, then go with your gut, go with your
Mm,
eye. But
mm,
it's an interesting kind of relationship because I'm the father.
right.
I always tell her, I said, try to forget I'm your father when we're out there,
Hmm.
because there's always a little bit of like attitude that can come out because I am the father, not maybe somebody outside the family. So I try to tell her, I say, you can override me. You don't have to always listen to what I was saying. I could be
Mm.
wrong for sure. But yeah, definitely trying to help out as much as possible.
And when you're in the practice round, what kind of notes you putting in the book, Dave, on the
Oh
holes?
my God. I have one handy. You can see what
Whoa. Yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome.
there's quite a bit of detail that's
Yeah.
put into it. So
And so do
yeah,
you decide in
so
the
we get
practice
these
round
these
what you're
yardage
going
books.
those are really cool. So you decide in the practice round what you're going to use off the tee, and what the whole plan is. You work the hole backwards.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So we'll go out on that practice round, and the nice thing about a practice round in this type of competition is you can hit multiple balls if you want.
Right, right.
So if we if we're at a short par four or something along those lines, we'll say, okay, hit a driver, let's see where that ends up. If it goes through the fairway, okay, hit a 3 wood quickly, and we'll see if that's better play. And then just making notes of what we did in the practice round and where we laid up to or where we hit the ball to,
Mm,
and then obviously the greens. Once they're on the green, they can putt from anywhere they want. We don't have to putt where the flag is. So you're really not playing a round.
right.
You're really just trying to get a feel for the course itself.
Does she draw a fade?
She has a nice little draw in her shot, which is great for a driver because that gives you forward
More
spin
distance. Yeah.
and release on the fairway. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and her irons as well.
Yeah, her irons are more. She's a pretty relatively straight iron shooter, so yeah, she doesn't have to worry about too much fading. But of course, in golf, you will go left or right occasionally, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had the fortune of having a few caddies, and I can always tell if they're good or bad when they say things like, whatever you do, don't go left. So you
Right.
should say, keep the ball right. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
what you want to think when you're standing over the ball, right? So you want
Right.
what's the
Yeah.
worst miss? The worst miss would be to the right. So they keep right. The ones that say, whatever you do, don't keep it
Don't do
short.
that.
Yeah, that's not
Right.
what you
Yeah.
want to have. Do you employ that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It's talk about targets, right? It's
Right.
not about don't miss there. It's talk about your shot is here. Don't worry. It's not to talk about the water that's on the left, because once you do that, you know what happens. That gets in your head. So, yeah, you just talk about target areas, and even on the green, once after you do the practice round, you know slopes of green,
Mm,
and we'll say, okay, you even though the flag might be on the left, you're going to play it on the right side of the green. You're not going to go at the flag because we know that everything breaks to the left. So just things like that, and understanding, the long par fours is we're not these are holes we're not looking for birdies in, we're looking for pars, right? You're just looking to get on into, get your two putts and get out of there, because it's a
mm.
tough hole.
Yeah, trying to weigh those risk and rewards, right? So if you do end up in the woods, do you just chip out? Do you try to go for it? And you got to figure out those calculations, right? You got to run that.
Oh, 100. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things I learned playing golf, and I've definitely converted that to my daughter very quickly, is
Mm,
don't be a hero. When you're in a bad spot, do not be a hero. Just get it back out and play. You don't know what your next shot's going to be once you're back in the fairway. You could
right.
stick one in one putt, or you could be 20 or 30 feet from the pin in one putt. You got to give yourself a chance. The minute you take away that chance, now you're double, triple, and you blew it. So
Mm.
it's about minimizing the number.
So your experience playing golf and being a caddy, Dave, I could see how that could translate in sales and working with clients and kind of guiding them through this whole golf course of security.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I don't, I've been doing sales a long time, and I think the old way of selling is dead, if you will. I think it's more relationship
Yeah.
and trust, right? It's not about, hey, I'm Defense X and here's my product and blah, blah, blah. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's get a POC, and okay, how much do you want? And when do you want to buy them? It's more about understanding, and it's a teaching thing. Essentially, we've already talked about that, because
Mm,
startup is a lot of teaching to go on, but it's the relationship, and it's gaining the trust of the individual, right? The minute you break that trust, I find that that's where everything can go downhill. And it's a big industry but a small industry at the same time. So if you're trying to do things that are a little bit, I want to say maybe too aggressive, or we'll use the old term as car salesman style,
mm,
I think it gets you in trouble now. I think you really, again, going back to MSPs, have a lot of, it's a very cloudy, muddy industry because of all the technologies out there. So how do you want to educate them to make sure they're making the right decision? And I don't want anyone to use my product and realize it's the wrong product for them. That, what does that reflect on just me and the technology itself? It
mm.
needs to be right. And as much as people have seen a demo and they're like, I love this, I want to go forward with it, I always stop them and say, you need to do a POC.
Mm.
You don't buy a car without test driving it.
Proof
You
of
need to do a
concept.
POC. Proof of concept. Exactly. You need to see that. You need to see that it works properly. And a demo doesn't identify, or um, you don't get a chance to see everything that's offered, or maybe something that's not offered that you're looking for. So it's extremely important, and that's part of the going back to that SaaS council and that checklist we're creating. Don't skip those steps. That's for sure. Make sure you take the time to do those steps. And if you don't have time to do those steps, then you shouldn't do it, because that's where you're going to get, we call it the shiny object syndrome, right? Looks really cool and I love it. Okay, but hold on. Let me just step back. Do I have time? Is this going to fit? If I go too fast, do I make a mistake? And then I start to cut into my profits because I haven't built this out properly, meaning billing. So that's my suggestion for all MSPs, is especially the medium and smaller ones, don't get caught up in the shiny object
Mm.
syndrome. That will get you in trouble. Take your time. If somebody's pushy, then just push them back.
It's a refreshing attitude, Dave. How do you measure success?
Uh, it's growth, obviously. The easiest way is just looking at growth. But I see success in a lot of different other ways. I see success in partnerships I've built. I see success in relationships I've built. I've been with DefenseX 2.5 years now, and when I walked in under the DefenseX banner, I didn't really know anybody. I knew people.
Mm.
I didn't really know anybody like really well. Now I go to shows. I mean, I don't want to say I know everybody. Nobody knows everybody, but it's a bit of like I walk in there, and it's like, wow, hey, hi, whoa, hey, man, this. You know, you go to the bar, it's like next thing you know, you're talking to 5 or 10 people in a group. So, and you're meeting new people every single day. So the initial success, that's how I measure my success, is through that, is through the community. Actually, is probably the good word to use, that I've met and created, I guess. And then the second layer of success is how well has DefenseX grown over the last 2.5 years since I've been aboard.
Very cool, Dave. Well, I was excited when we set this up. Really enjoyed our conversation. Anybody listening, how can they get in touch with you?
Easiest way is just emailing me, I guess, through my email address, which is dave.maik, MAIK, at defensex.com. And it's DEFENSX, no E in between the S and X.
That's absolutely right. DefenseX without an E. That's the website. We'll put it up. And also, you're on LinkedIn at Dave Maik, like you said, MAIK. We'll make sure we put that up in the show notes. Dave, such a great pleasure. I look forward to seeing you at IT Nation. And who knows, maybe we can even hit a ball soon in the future.
That would be great. I think it's at Shingles Creek. That's a great golf course.
It is pretty nice. Yes, there in Orlando.
Yeah.
Dave, thanks so much. You have a great day.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with 1 or 2 of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources, and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversation.